Welcome to this tutorial on assisting UW-Madison students during early voting and on Election Day during 2020. This covers number 1, registration and proof of residence, and number 2, voter ID and proof of enrollment. Let's start with registration and proof of residence. In Wisconsin, a voter must be a U.S. citizen, not on probation or parole, 18 years old, and a resident for 28 days. If you move within Wisconsin less than 28 days before the election, you vote at your old polling place. In Wisconsin, you must be 18 or older by the day of the election that you are voting in. You can register before Election Day if you will be 18 or older by Election Day. For students, residency for tuition purposes has no connection to Wisconsin residency for voting purposes. Be very careful filling out a registration form. It's a legal document. The writing must be legible. It must be complete. A good quality control method is to ask a colleague to double-check the form for completeness and sign it. When registering during early voting or on Election Day, proof of residence must be shown. Any University of Wisconsin webpage is a government document and may be used for POR, proof of residence. POR can be presented electronically or on paper. Most students will use an electronic government document. An easy way to get POR is to use go.wisc.edu/address. Usually, the student will use their phone. Incidentally, this movie will present several useful links, and at the end there will be an address where you can get a list of all the links. The student logs in using their NetID and password, as they usually do. Then, this URL takes them right to the address page, which is a government document. For an alternate path, the student might have the Wisconsin app installed on their phone. They can get to the same page by the path My UW, Student Center, Profile, Addresses. This address page is a government document. Depending upon which path is used, it will either show the wisc.edu web address, shown on the left, or the UW logo, shown on the right. These are indications that it is a government document. It also shows the student's full name. We are going to show you the details of how the student can update this page to their current Madison address. We have also developed a printed color visual guide that will be available at early voting locations and Election Day polling places. If the address needs updating, the student scrolls down to Mailing Address. The UW prefers that the mailing address be updated for this purpose. Click in the large box with the mailing address. A window pops up. The student edits the address in the pop-up, then clicks Save. This returns to the address screen, which can now be used as proof of residence. For early voting registrations, check that the address is in the City of Madison by using myvote.wi.gov. For Election Day registrations, check that the address is in your ward. After you witness the POR, document it on the bottom of the voter's registration form as a government document. Documentation during early voting is a little different from Election Day. This shows the bottom of the voter registration form. It is customized for the City of Madison. For early voting, document the proof of residence by writing G, which is Madison's code for government document. The issuing entity is UW-Madison or just UW. There is no identifying number or account number on this document, so write N/A for not applicable in the POR number box. Enter today's date and sign it in the official's signature box. For early voting, write the location, such as Union South, in the box below your signature. This is a total of 6 entries. For Election Day registrations, documenting POR is similar. In addition, at the bottom left, write the ward number in the proper box. The poll worker and the second checker sign the form. The voter number is entered by the election official issuing the ballot. This is a total of 8 entries. To review details of this documentation, refer to the printed color visual guides that will be at your location during early voting or on election day. Occasionally, a student will not have a working phone or laptop due to it being broken, lost, or a dead battery. In 2019, the university instituted multi-factor authentication for logging in. This may make it difficult for the student to log in on someone else's device. Here are 2 alternatives. In this situation, the student can find directions for logging in on someone else's device at go.wisc.edu/templogin. An alternative is to use the housing list. There are 5 wards that serve campus housing. These polling places will have a certified list of students living in campus housing. This can be used as proof of residence as long as it is accompanied by a student ID, either the WISC card or the student voter ID. This is coded as H on the registration form. This housing list will also be available at early voting sites. Of course, it does not include students who do not live in UW housing. So let's review. Go.wisc.edu/address is a direct path to the student's address page. An alternate is to use the Wisconsin app. The address page is a government document. The student can easily update their address if needed. Document the POR on the bottom of the form. Now that the student is registered, let's go over voter ID and proof of enrollment. The standard student WISC card is not acceptable, as it does not meet the specifications in the law. An out-of-state driver license is also not acceptable. Of course, a student can use any of the forms of ID that are acceptable, such as a Wisconsin driver license. For voter ID, the address on any of these does not matter. Any UW-Madison student can get a free student voter ID at Union South. Just bring your WISC card to the WISC card office anytime they are open. On election day, they are open from 7 a.m. until 8 p.m. On November 3rd, there may be additional locations on campus to get a student voter ID. The special student voter ID card meets all the specifications in the law. It has an issue date, an expiration date 2 years after the issue date, a signature, and a picture. Because of a court ruling in June 2020, an expired student ID card is acceptable if it meets the specifications and if the student presents proof of enrollment. Proof of enrollment, POE, can be presented electronically or on paper. It is only required if the student voter ID is expired. A simple way to get proof of enrollment is to use go.wisc.edu/verify. The student logs in, and then this document is shown. It has the student's full name and certifies enrollment status. When used as proof of enrollment, the address shown does not matter. There are alternative proofs of enrollment. The Wisconsin Elections Commission has approved a class schedule or a tuition fee receipt. The Madison clerk has approved the bus pass for the current semester that is distributed by the Associated Students of Madison. Again, for proof of enrollment, the address does not matter. Let's wrap up. Here are some key web addresses. go.wisc.edu/address for POR. go.wisc.edu/verify for POE. myvote.wi.gov, where you can use the address button to check that an address is in Madison. The website of the League of Women Voters of Dane County has resources with this information about UW students. A shortcut is go.wisc.edu/LWV. It has a link to this movie, a PDF of these slides, PDFs of the visual color guides on proof of residence for UW students, and a PDF listing the key links. This movie is at go.wisc.edu/pollworkertraining. There is a short quiz at go.wisc.edu/pollworkerquiz, where you can leave comments on the movie or the quiz. We recommend that you watch this movie again the day before Election Day. At the beginning of your shift, review the printed color visual guide. Thanks for following along with this tutorial, and thanks for serving as a Madison election official at early voting or on Election Day.